Chapter 14. The picture of the human condition and the toxic magician's means and methods for manipulating it to his ends may not sound romantic to many, except, of course, to the toxic magician, whose sole purpose is to explore, exploit, and control the conditions of life. The fact that he attempts to turn the mundane into an adventure is his primary badge of honor. If a normal person reads this material or tries the methods described herein, instead of a badge of honor, he will be wearing a badge of horror. The power and force of the influence of the practitioner can be augmented in various ways. First and foremost, practice makes perfect. This implies that there will be many so-called failures which provide the necessary lessons of how to present and preserve oneself during a failure. Another way of increasing power is through alignment with other manipulators who have similar aims and goals. It is also sometimes useful to help another toxic magician accomplish his or her own particular end, even if you do not directly benefit from it. In these conditions, you will have the opportunity to observe from a different angle the operations of another practitioner and perhaps even of a master. Third, it is also useful from time to time to surround yourself with many disciples from whom you can drain resources and energy. This tactic is especially fun if you know the dynamics among the people in your group. If you know each of their vulnerabilities and strengths and how the other members play them, you can drain off greater power, which you will need when you find yourself in extreme and dangerous circumstances. And do not doubt it, you will find yourself in extreme and dangerous circumstances from time and time, and you will need every trick in the book to win or even survive. As you practice failure and note your own reactions, particularly feelings of smallness and humiliation, you will begin to find ways of turning these feelings into healthy and free reactions. You will also learn how to use these reactions to cause severe pain in your adversaries. Remember, some adversaries will also try to reverse your power and escape from your control. The means which they use to accomplish this will give you deeper insight into their needs and most secret desires. Once you sense that you have gained an insight into their secrets, offer them some aspect of it in a way which will not offend them or make them look small. Once they accept your offer, they are yours, unless of course they too are true toxic magicians. If this is the case, back off until you find out more or make a psychological alliance. Chapter 15. So far, the objective of practicing toxic magic is to provide relief from life for your subject, thereby assuring yourself adventure and resources. The more often you can relieve people from responsibility in a way they can accept, the more likely they will allow you to drain them. Often, they will come directly to you for draining or punishment. These are often opportune times to refuse them. This allows you to build confidence in yourself and a greater sense of slavery in your victim. Fail them from time to time, make them work harder, even humiliate themselves in some fashion, and then show them some respect and love. Sooner rather than later, they will be eating out of your hand. Remember, always be sure to give relief at some time. Allowing tension to remain for too long a period of time can damage your resource. Relief, even if it comes through humiliation, is welcome. It is important to reinforce the idea that the toxic magician is not the cause of human suffering. Human suffering is the norm. Being numb to the depth of this suffering is normal. Being unaware of the stupidity of life is a necessary defense for the survival of this particular species. The manipulator is fully aware that anyone who accepts and adapts to this stupidity is not a member of the futures to come and is nothing more than a breeding machine for more slaves. The practitioner didn't invent the human condition. He is only taking advantage of it by helping others get what they want. The human condition is simply slavery, a repetition of species behavior from one generation to the next. The difference between humans and other organisms is that there appear to be more wild card possibilities, and this includes the complete annihilation of the species. The toxic toxic magician accepts these fundamentals and doesn't lament. Instead, he helps the species to replace itself with something better, something more flexible, something stronger, something immortal. This will require the death of billions of people and/or the leaving of this particular planet, whatever it takes. The practitioner is constantly preparing himself, both in attitude and information. However, he is not fooled like some by man's inventions or cleverness in certain areas. He is completely aware that man uses all his inventions to further his primitive nature, and that to wait for evolution to catch up is pure folly. He attempts to force life to speed up the process of evolution, even if it costs him his own life, but he only does this out of choice. Toxic magic is focused magic, and the toxic magician saturates the wound called mankind with his own vitality. He obtains this vitality by consuming the energy which others are more than willing to give away. They don't want it. It is too much for them, and the manipulator knows just the right means for gathering in this food and digesting it. He knows just the right temperature to store it, and best of all, he knows just how to prepare it to make it a joyous and delightful meal. He knows that the easiest method for gathering in this energy is to help people continue to delude themselves, to help them get what they think they want. Chapter 16. Every once in a while, a toxic magician will run across someone who is somewhat aware of the truths of human existence. If this person has the fortitude and willingness, the practitioner can help this person to himself or herself become a toxic magician. This is a particularly problematical exercise and commitment, and is fraught with dangers and difficulties. This exercise should only be taken on after deep deliberation and testing of the subject. It is imperative that the subject be tested in numerous ways. It is best if the subject is attractive in some sense, has some charisma, and has an above average IQ. Having some special talent is also a good indication that the manipulator's time will not be wasted. But these are only preliminaries. Numerous tests must be passed and many skills learned before the practitioner can be assured that his subject is worthy. However, it is also very important to keep in mind the idea of circles within circles. Everyone is of some use, especially those who hate the toxic magician. Everyone can't become a member of the inner circle, and there is no harm in having many grades of practitioners. Chapter 17. The stronger and more knowledgeable the toxic magician, the greater the tasks he can successfully complete. For example, he is aware that he can stir people to chaotic behavior by convincing them they are getting less than what they used to. He is also aware that by stimulating people to do more and more while giving them nothing can lead them into states of depression and hopelessness. Also, he is acutely aware of the danger of hope in situations which have been very oppressive. He uses these devices, among many others, to help people get what they really want, more or less. He pretends that he respects the rights of people and is interested in their plights. Even though most people know that this is a ruse, they go along with the program because it is the line of least resistance and allows them to express some of their frustrations. This reduces the pain of their pent-up depression and aggression. As a rule, people believe they have honor and a reputation to protect, and the practitioner can manipulate their reactions by casting doubt on their honor or reputation. This can be done either by supporting or threatening them. Often, casting doubt by the method of support has the most useful benefits. The manipulator is always aware of how much self-delusion is taking place when he is engaged in any conversation. He either helps the self-delusion along to the point that no one believes anyone any longer, thus ending the conversation by switching the topic, or enhances the self-delusion just enough to inflate the the person's public value. People can't help but exaggerate their importance, even if it means that they only exaggerate it to themselves. At the same time, their self-importance is so fragile. The toxic magician must be aware of what activities or attitudes might deflate the potential victim. The manipulator is always ready to make some form of restitution for a perceived wrongdoing. Often a small apology is enough. At this point, it is often useful to talk about other people in a derogatory or gossipy manner. Give the victim the sense that you are taking him or her into your strictest confidence, although there is some likelihood that you might not be fully believed. If the person about whom you are gossiping is in some way competitive with your victim, you will be doubly believed. Any type of gossip establishes bonds and secondarily alerts others that they too might be betrayed at a later date. Thus, the practitioner always uses gossip wisely. Often he will let the other person do the gossiping while keeping his mouth shut. Or he might say something which will be heard as gossip by his victim, but which also has a double meaning which he can easily twist around if later confronted. He is expert at lying and confounding information. Little slips and small distortions make for potentially great future power plays which, if well orchestrated, will produce excellent results. Chapter 18. While people scream about the importance of social justice, it interests them little unless they are in some way harmed. In fact, the idea of social justice is something about which almost everyone is frightened. For most people, social justice would mean ruin, since almost everyone has lied, stolen, distorted the truth, harmed others in insidious ways, and held back favors out of selfishness, greed, or simple meanness. Thus, from time to time, someone must be sacrificed to atone for and hide the sins of the group or even an individual. In cases like this, the toxic magician can perform miracles. He can help any group, no matter how small, to find a victim to blame or torment. By relieving the group of blame, he will often find them willing to provide small favors which he should take as soon as they are offered. In some instances, delaying the acceptance of a gift is the best thing to do, but not in the case of scapegoating. People want to forget this petty part of themselves as quickly as possible. If you do a favor for someone who sees himself or herself as honorable or reputable, be sure to get paid well in advance. These people have a very short memory when it comes to being associated with someone who might make them look bad in the future. The practitioner is well aware that all people like to use reason or logic to help them follow and fulfill their whims. In practical terms, this means talking in moderation, but always promising a miracle. Since most people have been in a chronic state of hypnotic trance since childhood, it takes very little to keep them asleep. Thus, it is ideal to promise miracles which are associated with stimuli which remind them to forget the promise when the miracle fails to appear in the form expected. Miracles will always appear in some unexpected ways which you can take credit for. Of course, having a scapegoat is another means for dealing with failed miracles. Still, another method is to mention that no miracle will occur and that more effort or hard work is needed for the desired results. But no matter what you do, a miracle is always expected. This fact is based on a number of natural laws, the first of which is that no one has experienced their own creation, and life goes on no matter what happens. All of this and more seems like miracles for which the toxic magician knows how to take credit. It is easy to be a miracle worker. Just allow the obvious to happen. Since most people are in an hypnotic trance, if you could just see 10% of the obvious, you are a miracle worker. If you could see 25%, you are a god. People will always associate whatever precedes an event as the cause of the event. As such, always let your presence precede a happy occurrence, and always let someone else precede a painful one.